Welcome to Congregation Beth Israel of Charlottesville, Virginia's official podcast, Latkes and Ketchup. I'm Rabbi Ezra Leventhal, Assistant Rabbi of CBI. So you're probably wondering why the CBI podcast is called Latkes and Ketchup. That's a great question, listener. I know, we're just getting to know each other, but this bodes really well for our relationship. Why on earth would any self-respecting Jew, let alone a rabbi, host a podcast called Latkes and Ketchup? If you know me, you know the short answer is that I've been given creative control of this project. And whenever I, Ezra Leventhal, have creative control over anything, I will always, first and foremost, cater to my own chaotic curiosity and whimsy. I have a firm belief that God put me on this earth to make the Jewish world a little bit weirder, and God is my boss, after all. But I digress. Latkes and Ketchup. I do have a real reason for the title. Let me back up a little bit. I have an unconventional background for a rabbi. I grew up in an interfaith household with very little sense of Jewish identity. My mom had been raised culturally Italian more than anything in the San Francisco Bay Area. She had a vague sense of Catholicism mixed with a variety of New Age spiritualities that her hippie psychologist parents had been experimenting with. My dad grew up on Long Island. He attended a Reform synagogue until he became bar mitzvah. Even to this day, my dad is more likely to be found at a party or a brewery on a Friday night than a synagogue. So my childhood was something of a patchwork of traditions from those two very different worlds. I was baptized by my mother's father, who was a psychologist and a meditation teacher, more Buddhist than anything else, but had been ordained as a minister because he liked to perform weddings. In my early childhood, December meant both Christmas and Hanukkah. April meant Easter egg hunts and every now and again a Passover Seder. When my parents got married, they insisted religion would not be an issue when raising children. So, of course, they ended up with me. I was immediately fascinated by spirituality, the Bible, and all things God. As a toddler, I made up stories about Bible characters before I could read or write, and I painted pictures of what I thought God looked like. There were more unicorns than you might have expected, but again, I digress. The Judaism I grew up with was ripped from its context. I can count on one hand the number of times I went to synagogue before the age of 18. When I went to college, I began to explore Judaism on my own and became a lot more serious about my practice. But that's another story. The point is, any self-respecting Jew that grows up in a Jewish community knows that the proper additions to a latke are applesauce or sour cream. But when I was 5 years old, my dad handed me a fried potato onion thing and told me that we eat these for Hanukkah. I thought, French fries go with ketchup? Onion rings go with ketchup? Surely this too shall go with ketchup. And I poured a generous helping of Heinz on my plate. That's how I ate them my whole childhood, without question. I only learned many years later that I had been committing a serious cultural faux pas my entire life. But to be honest, from a flavor perspective, I stand by it. Latkes and ketchup might feel wrong, but there is something right about bringing them together. So that's what I want to do on this podcast. I want to bring together things you would not expect to go together, but do. In each episode, I will bring a topic that is deeply Jewish, paired with something that is completely not Jewish. Two things you would not expect to be compatible, and yet, somehow, they are delicious when brought together. The story of creation and modern mad scientist narratives. The concept of teshuvah and the invention of cornflakes. The celebration of Simchat Torah and the cultural legacy of the novel Lolita. Will we do all these episodes? Who could say? Do the arguments for these episodes exist somewhere in the depths of my mind? Absolutely. I'll invite on special guests, sometimes from our community, sometimes from outside our community, and we will explain and explore unconventionally paired topics. We'll discuss Torah, traditions, folklore, pop culture, movies, news, music, and of course, if you know me, you know we're going to talk about horror movies. So, if you're interested in Jewish content with a unique and unexpected point of view, come along for the ride. This has been Latkes and Ketchup. I'm Rabbi Ezra Leventhal. I'm gonna dip.